In 2012, a mysterious illness appeared in a coal mine in southwestern China, specifically the Yunnan province. 6 coal miners were tasked with extracting bat guano. 6 of them got a mysterious illness and 3 of them eventually died. In early 2013, researchers came to the area and extracted the virus. They were taken to the most high-level, state-of-the-art, technologically advanced institute of virology in the entirety of China, the Wuhan Institute of Virology. 7 years later, a mysterious illness also appears out of an area very close to that one institute, and oddly similar to that one virus and illness found in that one mine back in 2012. Did China create COVID-19? So July 4th, the Times of London comes out with this interesting article, and it talks about how this virus, which is 96% identical to the coronavirus which is rampaging throughout the world, was found in an abandoned copper mine in China in 2012. The bat-infested copper mine in southwestern China was home to a coronavirus that left 6 men sick with pneumonia, and then 3 of them eventually died. That's a 50% death rate. And after their deaths, the WIV, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, stepped in, extracted the virus, and stored it. So why is this important to this entire situation? Why is this important to us answering the question of whether China created COVID-19 in the lab and spread it across the world? Well, first of all, we have to consider the fact that, the Wuhan Institute of Virology did study the virus. They did study this virus, again, which is 96 to 97% identical to the coronavirus. Of course, most coronaviruses are similar with that, but this is a virus which has very similar SARS effects to the virus that we are experiencing in our world today. And this was extracted in 2012, brought to the WIV in Wuhan, which we know as the epicenter and source of the virus. But how would a level 4 security institute of virology, again the most technologically advanced institute in the entirety of the country, leak a virus such as this? A virus which has had a 50% death rate. Well, a US State Department report fact sheet may have answers to that. So days before Trump leaves the office, right, this is January 15th, the State Department issues a fact sheet on WIV, and it states the US government has reason to believe that several researchers inside the WIV became sick in autumn 2019, and this is of course before the first identified case of the outbreak was released, and they had symptoms very consistent with both COVID-19 and common seasonal illnesses. Now we have essentially a US State Department fact sheet which essentially says that the Wuhan Institute of Virology had cases within them. That first cluster that ever appeared of COVID-19, or at least illnesses with the symptoms of COVID-19, came from the institute itself. It came from researchers within the institute themselves. So this would essentially mean that researchers studying the virus leaked it through their cells into Wuhan, which eventually spread it to the rest of the world. Now, the WIV has not been really transparent with their research into very similar coronaviruses. This specific coronavirus, the one found in the mine, is the RATG13 strain, and the WIV wasn't exactly very open about their research into this virus. So could they have potentially genetically modified the virus to such a state where it became less dangerous, right, from the 50% death rate we saw with the miners, into something around 1%, and then released it purposely into Wuhan? Well, before we go on to the fact and discuss whether China would want to do that, let's talk about 2 things. 1, could this virus be genetically modified? And 2, what about that WHO report which was released earlier this year? So November 17th of 2020, a paper was written by Rosanna Segreto and Yuri Durgin, and it was published as "The Genetic Structure of SARS-CoV-2 Does Not Rule Out a Laboratory Origin." Essentially what the paper was saying, that basically COVID-19 could be genetically modified, it could be genetically created, because studying its structure found that it didn't necessarily have to have natural sources like most scientists before this period believed. And considering we still haven't found a direct link from COVID-19 to, let's say, bats, which we expect to be the source of the virus considering our previous experiences with coronaviruses, because we don't have that direct link yet, and the fact that we now have this influential paper written by researchers who definitely know what they're talking about, saying that this virus could have been genetically modded. we have a serious question, and that is, could China have wanted to do this? Would China have done this? Now, you may be asking yourself, what about the WHO report which was released earlier this year? Earlier this year, a joint report was released by the WHO in a 4-week study into the Wuhan province. And they essentially came out with the result that no, it was unlikely that this virus was created in the institute. But what's interesting about this report, and it truly forms this interesting narrative around what possibly this report could mean. We're talking about the Director General of the World Health Organization. He came out and he said, well, okay, look, the reliability of this, it's still sort of an open argument and we're not exactly sure about what the definitive result is. We can't put to bed the lab hypothesis just as yet. And then in March 4th of 2021, prominent scientists from around the world in an open letter to WHO called for a new investigation into the origins of the virus, saying the previous investigation was flawed, right? So now we have both the prominent scientists around the world and the Director General of the World Health Organization sort of condemning the report in a slight way. Let's say they did create this virus, right? Let's say that this virus, after being transported from the mine, was genetically modded in the Wuhan Institute of Virology and then accidentally released or not accidentally released. Would China have wanted this to happen? Quite a lot of people actually say, yeah, China is the only major economy that grew in 2020. Surprising. It used the opportunity, the smokescreen of COVID-19 to forward its foreign agenda. However, would China have purposely created this sort of atmosphere to, follow these goals, follow these aims and allow this to happen? And I say no. Because we have to think about the fact that Beijing did not have a confirmation or certainty that they would be able to come out of the self-dug hole that came with being the source country, the origin country of COVID-19. I mean, think about the negative stigma that was created to China during this time. You have a country which was the origin source of the virus, and you have news reports coming out that they handled it pathetically, that they allowed cases to rise, that they did not put in strong restrictions at the start, right? And so that is a terrible narrative to start from. And yes, China did recover from it, at least compared to all the European nations, but that is also partly due to the fact that its sort of leadership style is much more autocratic, at least compared to nations like the United States of America and countries in Europe. It wasn't as fragile as we can see in Western nations, even some in Southeast Asia. And that's what helped China to recover. It went into an intense damage control mode and it was able to curb the negative effects of COVID-19. And so for us to say that China purposely created this virus, that's tough. And personally, I don't think so. But what I do believe, looking at all this proof that we have, that yeah, China could have possibly leaked the virus accidentally from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. I mean, the facts just fit. A virus like the coronavirus that has killed 3.5 million people across the world today was researched in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The Wuhan Institute of Virology being very, very close to the city of Wuhan, where we know for a fact first reported cases of the virus were released. And with the fact that we now have reports suggesting that researchers were the first people to actually get symptoms that we are seeing now. All we need now is another WHO report. Did China create this virus purposely? I don't think so. But did the WIV, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, leak this virus somehow? Maybe. Who knows? Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. If you reached all the way to the end, I appreciate that so much. I haven't released a video in quite a long time. That's partly due because, I've had exams and I've been lacking some sort of ideas. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video a lot. Leave a like, leave a comment, and of course, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching and take care.